Well, weeks, a long time in economics. Alongside me is James Shugg, a senior economist at Westpac. James, thank you for coming in. Now, we were just hearing Mr. Soros actually saying, guys, this is just the second phase in this crisis. Let's not cry victory at all yet. And you're very adamant that, yeah, we have to be careful that these austerity measures, these austerity packages aren't too strong.
Well, it's not really that I was saying they shouldn't be too strong. I just think that the budget cuts aren't going to work because there's going to be so much more kickback against them. You know, we saw the strikes in Spain earlier this week. I mean, I like to refer to what happened in Latvia there, where hospitals were closed and schools were closed and more old people died during the winters, and because a lot of babies had to get born at home, child death rates went up. When people in Greece and Portugal and Spain and Italy start realising this is their future, you know, that we have to kill babies and old people in order to pay pension funds back the money that they lent to their governments, I think there's going to be a lot more resistance, and ultimately these measures aren't going to be successful.
But James, what does that mean? Would you just forget the credit rating agencies and actually say, well, yeah, we have blowing budgets, who cares?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that this is the political reality. There is no solution. It's gone too far. And so what will happen initially is that Germany and France and the other richer countries will continue to borrow more money to effectively bail out the poorer countries, the southern countries in Europe. But then at some point, those electorates are going to say, enough is enough. It's time for maybe the creditors to wear some of the pain, and so you'll see restructuring or default. Yeah, I think
haircuts. Is this really the solution that will be painful but less painful than what you're saying? These austerity measures.
Well, they can go about it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way is to make every creditor wear a bit of the pain. Or if they can't come to some sort of agreement along those lines, I suspect what will happen is you'll see defaults popping up from time to time. You know, you're talking about countries within the euro defaulting governments. It's pretty serious stuff, and it's going to happen unless we get some sort of restructuring.
Jay, if you talk about restructuring or actually making the creditors pay for this burden, who would oversee that? I mean, what kind of organism would we have? Is it the Commission? Is it the European Central Bank?
I think. Well, this is all uncharted territory, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's clearly a leadership role required by someone in Europe, and probably someone even outside Europe will be part of the story as well. You know, I'm thinking, of course, the IMF. They're already part of the process that we've seen up until now. I mean, I've got to say, too, and in the lead-up to all this happening, I mean, this isn't going to be a smooth path towards restructuring. We're going to see, you know, concerns about the banking system heighten again. There's a bit of a sense of eye of the storm at the moment, I think, in Europe. Look at the equity markets, they're doing OK. There hasn't been any more fresh bad news in the last day or so. Trichet kind of got away with it at his press conference yesterday. This is just the eye of the storm, and there's a lot more bad news to come, I think.
James, hold it right there, because I wanted actually to get to Mr. Trichet. He spoke to us after the press conference yesterday, justifying his actions.
As regards the securities markets program, which we have decided recently at a moment where the monetary policy transmission mechanism was not functioning correctly. Of course, these are important decisions that we took because of the circumstances. The circumstances are not supposed to last eternally. But these are the circumstances, and these explain why we have embarked in the enhanced credit support and why we have embarked in the securities market program.
Mr. Trichet, James, they're saying that actually these measures can't last forever, but it seems that what choice does he have if we're going to get much worse economic data?
I have sympathy for the guy. I mean, the European Central Bank was never supposed to be put into the sort of role it is now, where effectively it's, you know, buying the bonds off its member governments. You know, the whole situation has got to the point where really it is so difficult to understand how we can get through to some sort of end game that doesn't involve a lot of pain for a lot of people. And by that, I'm not just talking about the citizens in these countries. I'm talking about the investors who lent the money to these governments in the first place.
But what are you talking about exactly? Double-dip recession in Europe?
Well, certainly recession in Europe is a significant risk. We're well below consensus in terms of our forecasts. There is some offset, of course, coming through from the weaker euro, and if the global economy can continue to tick over and China continues to do OK, then it may be that we won't actually see a renewed recession in Europe, but it's going to be subpar growth for a long time to come.
But are we talking as bad as the 1930s? Because actually Mr. Soros alluded to that yesterday in talking about this second phase crisis.
I'm not as old as him. I'm not a good enough economic historian to make that sort of comparison at this stage. What I am saying is the party of the last decade for Europe gone, finished, kaput. And it's going to be a much more subdued sort of story for many years, for a generation to come, for many Europeans.
Can China play any role in actually stabilising this not-so-great European growth?
It can keep ticking over, it can keep growing. I think there's been a lot of pressure, of course, on China to allow its currency to revalue further. That's not going to happen, I don't think, anytime soon. Our sense is, in fact, that China is actually coming off the boil. Yes, there were some higher inflation numbers the other day, but looking forward, the Chinese economy is actually slowing across a range of sectors. And
with asset bubbles, how concerned are you about the fact that maybe some of these numbers are not as transparent as we think?
That is clearly an issue that's going to be an ongoing one. What I'm saying is, in terms of the activity that's actually driving the economy at the moment, the steel making, the car sector, construction and property, those sectors are showing some signs of slowing now. And so it could be that you get this weaker weaker European story, combined with the Chinese economy slowing and the US economy also coming off the boil, can paint a weaker growth story for the global economy. Not quite double-dip recession, but a much weaker growth story than is currently factored in.
All right, a bit of doom and gloom there. James, thank you so much.